Do fish feel pain when caught with a hook? Yes, it does. Look at the basis of carp fishing in Europe, the bolt rig. The bait is tied to the hook, leaving the hook totally free. The hook and bait are tied to a weight by a short 3 inches to 24 inches hook length. The hook is not free running. The fish picks to the bait and then naturally moves off. When it reaches the extent of the hook length travel, the hook pricks the fish. The fish knows that pain is about to follow, and so does what fish do naturally, it bolts off, fully pulling the hook into his own mouth against the weight. If pain wasn't an aspect of fishing, the above wouldn't work. It should be noted that all carp in the UK and almost all in Europe are catch and release. The bolt rig revolutionized carp fishing, making carp a valid target. But as fish got caught repeatedly, they worked out strategies to combat the bolt rig. Runs became less common as fish worked up that to run meant to get caught, and worked to remove the pricked hook by sucking and blowing or by inspecting individual food items for hooks. Carp fishing became an arms race between fish and fishermen, with new techniques and baits having a limited lifespan until the fish worked out a way around them. Not according to my observations. I've caught the same fish more than once. I've caught fish with hooks in their mouths already, and I've observed that when I stop applying pressure to the fish, it stops fighting and swims completely naturally. Others report seeing fish feed while on the line. A few examples: I was fishing a small river using corn as bait. I had a bite, but after a short fight the fish was gone, broken off. A short while later, the same. I replaced the second hook with a hook of a different type, thinking that there was something wrong with the first package, that caused the line breaks. The fish bit again, and with the new hook, I was able to land it. When I looked in its mouth to remove my hook, I saw my other 2 hooks still in the fish's mouth. A few times it's happened that something went wrong with my reel and I had to fix it quick, while a fish was on the line. One time, the fish was only a few feet from me. I lowered my rod tip, thus releasing pressure on the fish. The fish immediately ceased to struggle, and began to swim completely normally. Fish eat a lot of prickly things, such as various types of shellfish, sea urchins, and other fish, such as perch or sunfish, with spiny fins. And another thing to consider, when a fisherman sticks a hook in a fish's mouth, the fish fights back. When a farmer grabs a hold of the ring in a bull's nose, the bull follows. Because the fish does not know pain, but the bull does. As someone who practices catch and release, I've caught multiple fish, multiple times over several different fisheries. I've caught the same fish on different trips more than once. Fish don't associate being hooked with pain. One time I hooked and landed a trout 3x in a 2-hour time span, by accident. It was in a school with dozens of other trout. He was blind in one eye from an injury, and his instinct was to eat aggressively to make up for his handicap. That fish couldn't have felt pain. If it did, why would it eat the same fly 3 times in a short time span and not associate that fly with the experience of being caught? Fish don't feel pain the way that we do. Mind you that a fish would have a hard time surviving if they sensed pain the way we do. The underwater environment is full of abrasive material. Many fish spawn by using their lower abdomen and tail to dig spawning beds into suitable gravel areas. Fish would be hard-pressed to spawn successfully if they had pain receptors like us, as spawning fish often come out raw and bloodied from digging spawn beds. Our best hypothesis based on current research is yes and no. They have sensors that register impulses caused by anything that damages tissues. But we don't have any reason to believe they feel pain the same way that we do. In fact, scientists are pretty positive they do not. For their lifestyle, it makes more sense for them to feel restriction as more of a panic situation than pain. So they will sometimes bite the hook but not react much until they discover they cannot swim away. Then they panic. For a fish, pain is probably a very common occurrence. They often mouth or swallow anything that looks interesting and never mind the consequences. They use their mouths as diggers, weapons, and sensory tools. The waterways are full of sharp things, and bumps and collisions are frequent and inconsequential. Plus, they have a really amazing immune system for healing injuries. But restriction of movement means death most of the time, so that's when they panic. You've touched on quite the subject. There are two sides and neither will ever agree. However, it seems to be that the scientific studies say no, it doesn't, and the emotional anecdotes say that it does. I tend to side with science over emotion. Fish respond to sensory input, though, and of course they react when something starts pulling them. I do almost always use artificial bait as fish rarely swallow them, but sometimes swallow live bait hook and all, and even if you plan to eat the fish the situation is ugly for both fish and angler.